Yeah. If you open that up, when you're that close.
Okay, they don't have to open it. They'll figure it out themselves. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go weiter in. We're going to go weiter. It's good. We're going to go weiter in Yichud and Shomerim. We started talking about doctors, babysitters. So we were talking about all the combinations of ages and all the complications. But let's say there is a problem of Yichud. You have a 9-year-old boy with a grown-up girl babysitter. Fine, one person. So, or a doctor's office when the doctor is dealing with a male doctor dealing with a female patient, or in an office late at night, things like that. So, the Gemara, we spoke last week the concept of a shomer. The concept of a shomer is there's people that with whom there's no yichud, so they're not part of the yichud, but they're shomer, then no one else is going to do anything. So who's that? Let's say we said a child of the age between 6 and 9 years old, so they're not old enough to be part of the yichud, but they're old enough to know that something fishy is going on, and maybe they could be a shomer on the yichud. So you could have a shomer that way. You could have a shomer of somebody who is not part of the yichud for a different reason. Let's say you could have a shomer who's an adult woman, but she's baila be'ir. So the woman who's baila be'ir is not part of the yichud because there's no concern with her, so now she becomes a shomeris. You could have a man who's ishta imoi, so his wife is there. You could have 5 women. There's five relatives that the Gemara says. The assumption is that they look to rat each other out. They don't like each other. Sister-in-law, mother-in-law, etc. So therefore, if they're part of the yichud, also it would be mutter. So
it helps if the woman is in a different house.
We discussed that in Baila Be'ir, as long as the guy knows where it is.
He has to know that his wife's in a different house.
Right. If his husband knows where it is and he's Be'ir, then right. If she just says, "Hey, I have an appointment. See you later," well, even that case is not so partial. But if she knows where he is, so there's meaning what? Meaning it's the husband knows that she's in a specific location. He knows where she is. And he's be'ir, that could be woodwork. So, a lot of times, this is not nogeya. Late at night, one other point, we have to speak out, very important halacha, that late at night, which means after bedtime, after people go to sleep, late at night, you need 2 shomer. So late at night, you need 2 shomer, which got complicated last week with all the ages and the combinations. So, the shaila is there any other eitzah to avoid yichud? Like we said, in an office scenario, you're sitting there, there's a secretary, a person's doing work, it's after, it's not a big office, and let's say it's late at night, or not even late, but it's in the afternoon already, people are emptying out, etc. So there is another heter, and then the question is, how do we utilize this heter? And it's 2 lines in the Gemara Kedushin. That's why I didn't make the copy, because it's literally 2 lines in the Gemara Kedushin. Amar Reish Lakish, Pesach B'Surach L'Rishus Harabim Ein Bo Mishum Yichud. That's the whole Gemara. And on that, we have pages and pages and pages in the Poskim. So Amar Reish Lakish, Pesach Pasuach L'Rishus Harabim Ein Bo Mishum Yichud. If the door is open to the public, there is no Yichud. Okay? So before we even analyze that, there is a major machlokes between earlier poskim and then others, and the question of what everyone say. There's a famous shita of the Beis Meir and Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the gedolim of that time. The Rabbi Akiva Eiger and the Beis Meir both say that what that means is it has to literally be open. The door has to be wide open. And kipshuta, the reason it has to be wide open is you look at the Beis Meir, it sounds like what he's saying is, first of all, because people could see inside. But that doesn't cover all the cases, because let's say here that door is open, but if you're on the side of over there where he's giving the shear, you can't see it from the door necessarily. So, but in general, if the door is wide open, then then takes away yichud. We'll get to the lumdus in a minute. But that's Rabbi Akiva Eiger and the base mayor. Okay, that case is not shchiach in many oifanim. You don't want to leave the door wide open. Maybe it's the winter, it's cold outside. Maybe it's the summer, it's hot outside. Maybe there's bugs, maybe there's this, maybe there's that. Maybe you don't want people coming in. Exactly.
Having a sign saying
What?
having a sign that says we're open for business is not the same.
Okay, let's see. So they're saying that you need the door to be wide open. The other Rishonim, now there's an open diak in the Tshuvas Rashba that the Rashba says, no, it's not about the door being wide open. It's about, even if the door is closed, but it's unlocked, that's also not yichud. Yichud is, door has to be locked. That's the situation of yichud. That's what the Rashba's mashma. The Binyan Tzion, who's the Aruch Laner in the Tshuva, so he basically says if we would go with Rabbi Akiva Eiger, then we would be really stuck. Because there would be, Pesach Pasuach will become an irrelevant heter. Because it's only if the door's open. Who keeps the door open? No one keeps the door open. So he says, he says we have to find heter. He brings up the Tshuvas Rashba. Rabbi Akiva Eiger and the base mayor knew about the Tshuvas Rashba, but they said it's a misprint. They say it's the wrong girsa. But the Aruch Laner says no, it's the right girsa. And the Rashba says yichud has to be a door locked. If the door is closed, it's still considered Pesach Pasuach L'Shas Harabim. The question is, what's this machlokes in lumdus? First of all, what's the lumdus here? Now, he holds that it's only not yichud if the door is open. He holds that the heter is that the door is closed, but not, what?
That's accessible to everybody.
And that's for sure. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says that's pashut that the door being open, being unlocked, is only a heter if it's shayach that people will come in. It has to be possible that someone would come in. Okay. So that means once it's like really late at night, no one's walking around in the streets. No one. So now.
That's like an straw. Anybody who just walks in.
Right. Okay. That was the old discussion.
For them, it would be maybe a head, not in America.
In America, it's still possible. Knocks the door
Who
and
walks into your house. Stop.
right. Okay. It's not so
It's
common.
still, they make themselves-
No, but we'll see where it is shaykh even in America. We'll see cases that it's shaykh. One second. But I want to just, before we get to practical, I want to get the lumdus here. So I think that the lumdus is, if you look in the Lashonis, Rabbi Akiva Eiger and the base mayor are learning that the reason Pesach Pasuach is not yichud is because you're not in a private place. Yichud, the definition of yichud, the aleph base is you are in seclusion, you're in privacy with the man and the woman are in privacy together. It's a yichud. So when the door is open, I don't care. People could see, people can't see, people could come in, people can't come. It's not even the point necessarily. Just like you're going to tell me, right? If you're in the street and there's nobody in the street right now, is that yichud? It's COVID and everyone's inside. So there's nobody in the street, right? There's a snowstorm. You go outside, it's like the snow is still, like it's pristine. No one stepped in the snow. So you're saying that no one's in the street, right? So that's yichud. It's not by definition not a private place.
When we say realistically, if there really is no one, then it would be. And we say that like in the mountains, where they're all in the woods. So that because there's no one there.
Okay, I'm talking about basically it's a private, it's a public place, be'etzem.
The whole difference is that there could be people around. If you're
No.
Through the windows.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, you don't have to start counting. It's not taking a survey. You don't have to take a census. How many people? You're in the street. You're not in a private place by definition. So they're learning that Pesach Pasuach L'Shas Harabim creates that you're not in a privacy. You're not in a seclusion together. Altogether, it's not a secluded place. It's wide open. That's the bottom line. It's not. It doesn't make a difference coming in. But if once the door is closed, it's considered private. Now you want to come with a new heter. Maybe someone will come in. Maybe who says that's a heter and yichud? That idea maybe is enough for a mashgiach by Milchik restaurant. Maybe it's enough to say, okay, I'm not concerned. They're going to switch the kosher ketchup for the treif ketchup. Okay, fine. So there's things where a yoytze v'nichnas is enough of a mashgiach. Okay, who said that works for yichud? You can't apply that anywhere else. It's a specific halacha over there where it's said. And it said, Adkan, it doesn't work for any other area. So that's why Rabbi Akiva Eiger and the base mayor said, that has nothing to do with Pesach Pasuach L'Shas Harabim. So the fact that someone could come in does not help for yichud. If we would go with that definition, the door has to be open, and basically, this heter would go down the two. It wouldn't really be nogeya. It wouldn't really be nogeya in most cases.
Is there a time? or is someone dropping off something? Gotta clean
So
it.
we were wondering about the chatzi shir or whatever. You know, I would say that it's better to taka in that case leave the door open. Maybe that's where you have it. You're coming to drop something, so don't close the door. You know.
There's a single class each there though, right? Because it's not a matter of how much time you spend there, it's not a time how much you could spend there. So there either is or
Wait,
isn't.
well, fine, but so kipshuta, but that's where you could use Rabbi Akiva Eiger's hatter. You're coming in. There's the woman's home alone. Her husband's not in the city. You have to bring in a package. So knock on the door. She opens the door. You leave the door open and bring in the package. The other pshat now, I will say that the poskim seem to say that interestingly enough, in this case, the poskim from Eretz Yisrael are more lenient than the poskim from America. That maybe has to do with this, because it's more common for people to pop in and out. But overall, the poskim don't go with Rabbi Akiva Eiger. They go with the other pshat, that if the door is locked and unlocked, closed, but unlocked, it's still called Pesach Pasuach Rosh Hashanah. What's the idea behind it? So we have two ideas. One idea is what we just said. It's a mirsas. You're afraid. Someone could come in every minute. Someone going to come in every minute. Obviously, it has to be realistic. Someone would come. So that's what everyone's saying. Well, what do you mean someone's going to? You can leave the door unlocked. All of a sudden, people are coming in. So Ramosha does say, which I don't know why you mentioned from a posek that it doesn't work. Ramosha has a tshuva saying that if there's a reasonable expectation that if you knock on the door, you know, and everyone knows you're home, and you don't come to the door, people think it's weird. It could be he says that that's also a shtickle Pesach Pasuach Rosh Hashanah, because Lamaisa, what's going on? Why you're home? Why are you ignoring me?
Because I don't want to open up for the Mashiach.
That would be
But I'm
locked,
saying, what?
right? That would be even locked.
It's like, I don't think it's
Unless
weird
you say something
nowadays. You
like
knock on someone's door and then they're opening up. That all of a sudden you're assuming they're having an affair or something.
I'm saying, okay, but Ramesh does say such a svar that there's an expectation. But Al Kapanim, when the door is unlocked, what's the vart? Is the vart someone could come in and out? So the ilm's tining. It's not realistic. People don't come in and out. People don't walk into your house even if it's unlocked. We'll see where it is Nogea. But if it's not locked, people are not coming in. But the Chazon Ish has a lashon. He says something else. Chazon Ish has a different explanation of this idea. If you remember, we had a similar idea by Baila Be'ir. Baila Be'ir is her husband's in the city, but it's a big city, right? So we said, Ramosha says, realistically, the guy has to come. He has to be shayach in Metzias. You don't have to know that he's on the way home, but it has to be that he's around enough that he could possibly come. If she knows Bevadai that he's an hour away because he FaceTimed her and he said, hey, look, I'm in Manhattan over here. So now she knows he's an hour away, it won't work. We said over from the Chazon Ish that it's not about the Metzias that he could come. The idea is, if she's in the city of the husband, she's not relaxed, she's not calm, she's not in a position that she's going to do anything because she's under, I don't know, she's under his spell, whatever you want to call it. But she's in the city with the guy, with the husband. It's not a situation of yichud. So Chazon Ish says that's also the same logic as the heter Pesach Pasuach Rosh Hashanah. The teva of people is that lemaisa, if the door is open, then the teva of people is that they don't do things which would only be done in private. So therefore, the fact that it's not considered a private situation is good for the reason why it's mutter. Even if it's not so shchiach that people will come in. It has to be possible people will come in. If it's impossible, then it makes no difference if it's locked or unlocked. But, well?
I mean, I don't know how the halacha plays out, but it's a little mistav in the cases. In other words, let's say people do come in Eretz Yisrael, right? Where are they coming in? Maybe someone will come into your...
No one's walking into your bedroom.
Nobody's going to creep around the house to every bedroom. They're going up to the second floor, to the bedroom.
Now, happens to be, I have a friend of mine. A friend of mine went to get me, me and a friend of mine went to Eretz Yisrael, and we went to different poskim, and we were sitting by Nissim Krellis and others, whatever. Anyway, so we were going to go to the Shevet HaLevi. And Lamaisa, he was a shtickle related to Rav Osner, and I wasn't. And at that time, Rav Osner was very old, so they let him go and not me. So fine. But Lamaisa, one of the things Rav Osner told him, he came out and he told me this Maisa, that he said that Rav Osner, when he was young, so he was handpicked by the Chazon Ish to go start the Bezdin in Bnei Brak. So he said, that he wanted to give a dogma how you could be medayik in every word of the Chazon Ish. Every word of the Chazon Ish, you could be medayik exactly what he says is mamash emes lamitoy. He said he had a story one time that he wanted to go speak about the Chazon Ish about something, and he what's it called? And he knew he was home. He knocked on the door, Chazon Ish didn't open, so he walked in. Fine. Then he sees Chazon Ish not buying his dining room table. So he says, where is he? So he goes into the room. So he sees that there's like, he's sitting on his bed. He's sitting on his bed, and his cover is over his head. So he's like under his covers. So he opens the covers, and he sees that the Chazon Ish is writing Chidushim and Erevin. Chidushim and Erevin over there. So he says, why are you writing Chidushim and Erevin over here under the covers? So he says, because I didn't want to get distracted. but he basically said to him, he said, because I know that every word that I'm going to be writing over here, people are going to be medayik it, so I had to choose exact wording. I didn't even want the sunlight in the room to distract me. That was the Ma'aseh Chazon. Anyway, so I guess the Chazon Ish taka held that there's in a davar soif, but Lamaisa, the Chazon Ish's logic is it puts it in a whole different light. It's not so much about is it this or is it that? Is this person going to come or not going to come in? The fact that it's open itself is misalik to privacy. And that alone, that it's not considered a private situation, that alone makes it that it's not yichud. This is the heter of the Chazon Ish. So according to the Chazon Ish, as long as a person feels different when it's locked versus not locked, that alone is that difference already takes away the yichud.
We say the same thing then with Sarah, then someone babysitting, so the parents could come home at any time. We don't say that that's a heter, right? I mean, just because they might come home early.
No.
But you don't feel private. You're in someone's house babysitting. You're a teenage girl who's babysitting a 9-year-old.
You're saying if the door's locked? What
That's
is
not the
that?
door's locked.
Right. The point is, if it's a matter of that, I don't feel comfortable in a private area. There's plenty other scenarios like that. Like, for example, a babysitter.
No, so the Chazal saying the privacy, which is the lack of privacy, which is defined as access to the rabbim, that lack of privacy stirs the yichud. The fact that there's a yoytziv and nichlas lav dafka, the fact that they told you to go away for 3 hours. For Baal Be'er, maybe that works, but that doesn't work for this.
And what's the issue in the Nakuda that the Chazon Ish is adding into the Rashba is?
He's saying it's not so much about the mirsas that they'll catch you. Because then you have to be much more calculated about the time and is someone coming and someone not coming. He says even if it's an old person that hasn't really gotten visitors in the last kufa, it's not realistic that someone's coming. They don't get visitors. It doesn't matter. It's not a privacy. That's his point. I'll read you the lashon he says over here. The Sefer Dvar Halacha brings it down. It seems like the Sefer Dvar Halacha is all the places come out, right? The more I look around, everyone's bringing down the Sefer, the Dvar Halacha. So the way he brings the Chazon Ish is, I don't think the American post can go with this Chazon Ish so much, but it changes the whole sugya. So that's what he wants to say. Now, based on all this, let's say we go with the Chazon Ish or we don't go with the Chazon Ish. But the idea is that even Pesach Pasuk L'Shazam is a heter, even if the door is closed, but it's not locked. So and it's realistic someone will come in. So let's take a few cases and see if we can apply it. So the babysitter case, if we're going to go with the Chazon Ish, as long as she unlocks the door. She doesn't want to leave the door unlocked. That's the whole thing. Babysitters feel unsafe. They don't want to leave the door unlocked. So then, it's not necessarily going to help. But where it does help is by a doctor's office. So a doctor asked me recently, he said he's from doctor, and when he sees obviously, legally, when he sees patients, if he sees a female patient, he has a nurse with him in the room. So legally that works, that covers you because, you have another 8 echad. But the problem is in Hilchos Yichud it doesn't work because a man is also in Yichud with 2 women. So it doesn't really work for yichud. Okay? Unless you figure out a way to say that this nurse is not part of the yichud and she's a shomer. But why is the nurse not part of the yichud? What?
Probably be legal gospel.
Yeah, if anything, it's worse. So,
Door's not locked. Another nurse can always walk into the room.
okay.
Door's not locked.
So the Torah says the door's not locked. The Torah says even if the door is closed, okay, the door is closed, but the door is not locked, and it's very reasonable to assume that someone will come in, because as long as the nature is that people do come in once in a while to ask a question, hey doctor, can you sign this paper? Thank you, sorry, bye, whatever. So all that happens. So Mamela, that would be matter the yichud. And Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky writes, for sure it's enough to be matter the yichud of one man with two women, because if we started in the very first shir, one man with two women is not yichud derais, it's yichud derabbanon. So since it's yichud derabbanon, you could definitely rely on the heter of the door being unlocked. However, that would only work if there's other people in the office, which usually there are. But let's say the doctor made an exception for you. Come in after hours, right? Come in late. I'll do an emergency, whatever. And there's only him and that nurse that's with him in the room. Then that would be a problem. Then the husband should go with his wife to the appointment. What?
Cleaning crew can come in.
It's okay, but he knows the schedule of the cleaning crew, But that would be. But that would be.
According to Chazon Ish, if the doors are not locked.
The doors are not locked, but you're in a building and there's nobody around. Chazon Ish says it works in an apartment building if there's other people in the apartment building.
What about digital?
Okay, I want to talk about. I didn't prepare that question.
I was thinking digital camera.
No. It's a very serious question. I have to give a separate share on that, and I'm not prepared to answer that question. People talk about it a lot, but Lamaisa, you have to get the sources.
It's the norm now that, if someone's babysitting.
For
you
sure,
know
for
that they'll
kashrus
also be
purposes,
washed.
nowadays any kashrus agency, kimat, will not allow a hechsher without cameras. In the restaurant, in
That's
the
practical.
in the key areas, and but they rely on
No,
it.
it'll also put
They
some
rel-
on
I'm
areas
saying-
that they want.
but they rely on it, and ma'asim b'chol yom that the cameras come in handy. Let's just leave it at that.
It's a lot. It's
So-
a lot easier for food.
No, I'm saying, but for
It's all
yichud,
space.
no,
No, so the food's here. You're watching.
Yeah,
food's
fine.
going on.
right now let's go to
There's like cameras everywhere.
Right.
Like where they are.
Right. So now in the doctor's office, I'm not so concerned about the yichud. I think most cases will be covered, but I think in a case where you're in an office setting, so there could be really serious issues. So so you have to take these clothing. Even if one man and two women, so he has two secretaries in the office, but it's a closed office, and basically this is my office space, and now nobody really is coming in. It could be a shayla. If it's during the daytime hours, so there's always people around the building, But if let's say you go in on Thanksgiving, you going in on New Year's or whatever, and because you have to make up for Chol Moed, because last time we talked about Chol Moed, so you're not going to work Chol Moed anymore. Now you're going in on New Year's to make up for Chol Moed, and now you have yichud problems. So if you're going in and there's nobody else in the building, it's just you and the second, and there's talking nobody around, then won't work. But in general, if there are people around, the door is not locked, then since it's one man with two women, I would be much more. I would assume that I would be okay being makel on the fact that people could come in and out in that type of setting. So in an office type of setting, that's the klal. As long as it's realistic, people could come in for sure. If there's multiple people in the room, it's okay, and that's okay. The shaila really would be in a case where, like we said, if there's nobody coming in and out, then that would be a much more of a serious problem. The question is, in a home setting, where everyone's tining that just because the door's unlocked, no one's walking in. So how do you deal with that? So it's tautological to assume that just because the door's unlocked is not really enough to take care of yichud. And even the door being open, I'm not sure how much it takes care of the yichud. Again, I think the Chazon Ish would be more makel there, because the Chazon Ish would say if it's not locked, you don't feel private. But, okay. Let's say that much we're the poskim here are not so comfortable with. So is there any other heter? So there is a heter that you could specifically tell people to come in to the house. So you could, and in that case, you could even leave the door locked. You could leave the door locked and give them the combination or the key. And if you know that someone has the key or the way in, so that could share the yichud. Now, the question I will put out there, which I'm not clear on this question. I'm not clear on the answer to this question. What is the lumdus of that heter? Everyone knows this heter. That you could tell multiple people, you could tell someone to take the key or to give them the code and tell them, hey, come in. And by the way, in that case, you would have to tell them, come in no matter what, in any room you want, right? And all of a sudden, that takes care of the yichud. Why does that take care of the yichud?
But some mental alert that someone could walk in any time, as opposed to before in a house, people generally won't walk in any time.
Okay, so it opens up the fact that people could come in. So I want to put terms to it, lumdish terms. Let's go a little lumdish over here. Is the pshat that the person coming in is like a shomer now? We learned at the beginning, right? We mentioned there's a concept of a shomer. So even though they're not with you, but since they could come in and you give them permission to come in, so it puts you on alert. So it's like a shomer now. We said Baila Be'ir is a far-fetched shomer. They're not really going to come. But here, the person Taka will come, like you said. You said that the Rav comes.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right. So like it's Taka realistic that the Rav that the person will come. Okay. So is the lumdus that he's blibing a shomer? Or is the lumdus that since anyone could come, so now even the base mayor, everyone agrees that Pesach Pasuach L'Shos Rabim. Because now it is a Pesach Pasuach because I'm telling people Lahedja to come. The whole thing is, hey, people don't come. Here I'm telling people to come. So now
nafkamina is going to be if the first way if the person's not a good shomer.
Exactly. There's a few nafkaminas. Nafkamina is number one. Could you tell a woman to come in? Why? Because we said before, yichud with one man and two women is gufa aser. So what's it going to help that you told a woman to come in? But the woman being misachah with the woman herself is aser. So
if she opens the front door and says, "I'm here," and never really walks through and closes
Right.
the door, so that's not yichud.
it's not yichud with her, but the concept being a second woman is not really a shomer because you don't care. So
I don't care. It's that I can seduce both of them.
okay, so would that have to be the scenario? You would have to say that the only way it would work is if she doesn't enter the yichud situation. Okay, so he's mechav to the poiskin.
It wouldn't be yichud for the first person, but her coming in would be yichud.
Right, her coming in wouldn't help. So right,
But if she doesn't
exactly.
come in,
She just wouldn't be allowed to come in.
Right.
It's not yichud for the first person, but she's
Right.
just not allowed to come in.
Right.
How is she showing if she doesn't come in? She can't come in.
Because she could open the door and she
So
said,
what?
"I'm
She
here."
won't walk to the back. So
Okay, she said, "I'm here."
But she knows why she's coming there, so that no one's answering.
Right, she knows where she's coming, and she's coming until she opens the front door. She stands there by the threshold. And says, I expect to see her in 30 seconds. Where are you?
Right, but Avka said, check
You know?
in. Right.
I have some I have a smoothie. You know what? I have your Amazon package. So Lamaisa, that would be if it was a lady. Another nafkamina is at night you need two shomer. So would you have to give the combination to two people? The if it's Pesach Pasuach L'Shos
Like
Rabim,
a practical nafkamina though. Like if she could open the door and say I'm here, then that would work even if she's not
Yeah.
a shomer.
right? So but you need to say to two people that. How many people have to have access?
Well,
Because at night you need two shomer.
but I'm not using her as a shomer. I'm using her as the fact that there's no yichud now because I don't feel comfortable doing anything.
Oh, because you're saying it's Al Pesach Pasuach L'Shos Rabim.
Right.
No,
I'm saying there's two categories.
Even-
There's Pesach L'Shos Rabim and there's shomer. I want to know.
Well,
You have to.
why is it no good for one man and two women? Because he could seduce both of them. But she's not here, so I can't seduce both of them at the same time. I can't seduce both of them. I can only seduce the first
No,
one.
I know. So
But
you're saying it's a
calls
shomer. So you're saying even though she's not here, somehow it works as a shomer.
Until
But
she
the idea of a
comes.
shomer at night is that you assume that at some point your shomer goes to sleep. So therefore you need two shomer. So therefore at night you need two shomer. So if this would be the case, you would have to give two people access. So Rabbi Yashiv says this heter works, but the heter only works if you give it to enough people that you're taka afraid. So either you can give it. Okay, so I heard once a psak from Rav Chashwell. He said you should give it to three people because three is the shear for Rosh Hashanah. So if three people have it, then it's already Pesach Rosh Hashanah. It's hard to know exactly. Here in the Sefer Torah Yichud, he says that they're both true. Hayotze lanu the shitas hamatiras yotze v'nichnas u'mikoch trei taimi. They're both true. Chadim shel Pesach Pasuach Shishram v'oid mishum yotze v'nichnas chashvinan le'yoshev u'mashamer. It's considered a shmira. Okay. So this eitzah does solve most cases. So this eitz is much better than a stam Pesach Pasuach, leaving it unlocked. Leaving it unlocked wouldn't help. So giving it to, I would think that the ideal scenario is where you give it to 3 people. So this way, you know that there's 3 people on call, and they have the permission to come in, and they have the key or the combination, and that would take care of most scenarios of yichud in the home. But without that, just relying on Pesach Pasuach is not so poshut. Cameras, sarchin. We have to get to it. Also, how to position the cameras and what you're talking about the cameras. Let's say, would that necessarily work? So at the end of the day, and Lagabi, the question: can one of the person be a woman? I think you would have to say beferish that she can she can't come in. So you would have to assume that it's enough. In that case, for sure, I think you need multiple people because it doesn't necessarily create a full shmira.
Unless they were shown.
Single
Like
name.
a car, like a
Or it
dog.
could be
Right,
Baal Beer.
yeah.
You have your married neighbor.
What?
Your Baal Beer also. If it's a married
That's
woman,
true. That's true.
Right.
You could have a woman who's by beer come.
Whatever,
Yeah,
somebody
that would be a good
grabs.
eitzah. Right. That would be a good eitzah. But even so, one person alone is not enough because the likelihood that you really think that he's coming. Once there's multiple people, so it's already a whole matzah. It's already whole in and out, which really creates this artificial Pesach Pasuach concept. What? Which is a Chazanish concept, which makes you taka uncomfortable. Okay, so let's just chaz over. In a business scenario, if it's taka realistic, then you can rely on this that the door is open, and that's enough. That the door is unlocked. Unlocked even. As long as it's realistic, there's other people in the office, people coming in and out. It's not a private scenario. In the case of once it's late at night, in an office scenario, even if it's 2 women, it would be an issue. The heter of having the door unlocked is not such a good heter when you're just in your home. So therefore, the heter would be giving multiple people access, because that creates an artificial Rosh Hashanah. It could be even one person who would be a shomer, like your Rav or whatever, like you said, or just a person that's around. Not that I'm offering my services, but that could work. A woman we discussed, maybe with his eitz is a good eitz. A woman who's baila be'ir would also be enough. This idea, by the way, I heard from Rav Shimshon Pincus, a beautiful idea. He was talking about how our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So first of all, he said, on Shabbos, so we have he was coming to explain why on Shabbos. So we say Shalom Aleichem, beautiful tefillah and everything. All of a sudden, at the end, it says Tzeichem L'Shalom. Well, so some people don't have the minute to say it, but why are you kicking out the Malachim for? What's they just got here. What's this Tzeichem L'Shalom? And he said that B'chlal, you find in the whole Sefer Bereshis, you find that the main thing Hashem talks to the Avos about is Eretz Yisrael. Our shaykh is in Eretz Yisrael, and I'm going to give you Eretz Yisrael, everything about Eretz Yisrael. He says, Eretz Yisrael is not the Ikra of Yiddishkeit. Ikra of Yiddishkeit is Torah, mitzvahs. Eretz Yisrael is also something, but why is that the Ikra? That the others are constantly, I'm going to promise you, I'm going to give you Eretz Yisrael, I promise you come back to Eretz Yisrael, Kol Haaretz Asher Tashecha V'Al Lachatnena, you're going to get Eretz Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael is in Galus for 2,000 years, but we have Torah and mitzvahs, so we didn't have Eretz Yisrael. So what? I can keep going. Don't worry. Yeah. So why is like Eretz Yisrael the thing? So he said a Gavaldika Daher. He said that he said the definition of Yiddishkeit is not what we do. We do Torah, we do mitzvahs. The definition of Yiddishkeit is a relationship with us and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the way he said it, it's yichud with Hashem. How do you consummate a marriage? It's yichud with yichud. By chassan kal going to yichud, that describes there's a home. You build a bayit, you build a home. That's the place of the marriage, right? Now, technically, you you could be married and rent your whole life. You don't have to have a home. But the home represents the place of the marriage. That's the makom yichud of the husband and wife. That's the place where the relationship is. So the yichud of Klal Yisrael, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, is represented in Eretz Yisrael. What we do, so you have to be a good husband and a good wife. But what is the relationship? Is the place that we can have our closest, a privacy. This is a privacy with Kadosh Baruch Hu. He says that's why the Rambam holds that it's usher. He's one of the 613 mitzvahs. Usher to give a guy dira in Eretz Yisrael, and that's why the Gemara says you could even sign a shtar on Shabbos buying a piece of property. Gemara in Gittin, you could sign a shtar of buying a property from a guy in Eretz Yisrael, because to get goyim out of Eretz Yisrael is the mitzvah. He says why? Because you're sharing the privacy. What are you doing here? You're inside you're sharing the privacy. The Eretz Yisrael is a place that's supposed to be private, also in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that's the symbolized relationship. So he says the remnant of that nowadays is Shabbos. So he says, you tell the malachim, it's very nice, you brought me home, but you're staring my yichud. I don't even need malachim here. It's just us and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So now it's time for you to leave, and now it's time for us to have our yichud with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's how he says it. It's a very beautiful thought. But anyway,
You're keeping your guest.
Huh?
You're not throwing out your guest either.
Yeah, okay. He's also a yid, So the point is, but that's what he's saying. The more that we include foreign influence, foreign things into it, it shares the whole yichud. So the same way, you're not supposed to have Pesach Yisrael Rosh Rab. You can't have just everything open and access and whatever. That shares the yichud of the home with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. All right, Yishakar, Rabbi said we'll continue next week. Yes.
I have a